Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, the man who never met Virginia Giuffre, just decided to pay her $16 million to settle the sexual harassment, the allegations that Virginia Giuffre brought against Prince Andrew, Duke of York. We're going to go through the court docket, take a look at the settlement, and sort of piece together what happened here, because Prince Andrew is going to be paying a big whopping sum to make this all go away. The court docket, as we can see here, a couple things were filed recently, sort of middle of February. Feb 15, we have an order. The joint application to suspend all deadlines and hold the action in abeyance is granted. And to the extent that deadlines are suspended and the action is held in abeyance all the way up until March 17th, they're going to basically be extending this out and giving the parties time to work on resolving this. In the event that the stipulation of the dismissal is not filed by then, it remains entirely possible that this action will be set for trial when previously indicated. So you can see what's happening. The judge is saying, we've got a little bit of time here, so both parties are going to have to resolve this thing, make sure that all of the sort of back-end documents are executed, the settlement is transferred, all that stuff. Otherwise, if we don't have an update, this case may go to trial as planned. And this came about because a letter came in from David Boies, the attorney for Virginia Giuffre. You can see he submitted a letter and an exhibit explaining that there was a settlement that was in motion. Prior to that, they were ready to go with this trial. We had letters rogatory, which were issued, which are sort of conversations between one government and another government, or one court and another court. We have here, prior to this settlement, there was all sorts of discovery that was happening. So you can see the parties on or before March 7th have to file a joint written status of the discovery. And discovery is the very juicy stuff, right? That's what everybody wants to see. In a criminal case, that's police reports. In a case like this, we're talking about depositions and other deep dive inquiries that are taking place. Now that the judge has said this can go forward, they're going to be demanding discovery. And this is the reason why Prince Andrew wanted to make this go away. He doesn't want to turn over any information. He doesn't want to answer questions under deposition. And now that the judge said, we're not dismissing this case, he's going to pay to make it go away. So all of this now is in motion. These are the parties. This is an old file photo, but naming a couple people here, you can see Virginia Giuffre, of course. This is her attorney, which is David Boies, and very competent, very capable attorney. We've talked a lot about him on this channel covering the Ghislaine Maxwell case and Virginia Giuffre. You may recognize a couple other faces here that we talked a lot about in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. But as I mentioned, this was the letter that came in to the court from David Boies. You can see he signed it down here at the bottom. Says, on February 15th, Dear Judge, we write jointly with counsel for the defendant, that means Andrew's lawyers, to advise the court that the parties reached a settlement in principle of the above reference action. So they're turning this over to the court to let them know that we're working on this settlement. We've agreed to the major parts of the terms here. And so we've got all these other orders from the court. We need you to extend those. So the parties, they say, anticipate filing a stipulation of dismissal. And that's just an agreed upon document, both sides saying, we agree, yeah, we're going to dismiss this. Are you okay with that? Yep, we're okay with that. And it is something that the court will accept. They reference us over to Exhibit A. Exhibit A is going to be the actual language of the settlement in principle. It says, in the interim, the parties request the court suspend those deadlines. I mean, we don't want to be working on exchanging discovery and having to comply with that March 17th deadline if we're going to settle this thing and dismiss it. So they say, we appreciate the time and the effort the court has devoted to this matter. Respectfully, David Boies, attorney for Virginia Giuffre. So this is what the actual sort of agreed settlement looks like. That's it. That's the whole deal. We've got one paragraph. And so a lot of people are sort of wondering, they're saying, Virginia Giuffre and many people sort of on the plaintiff's side of this allegation, we thought this wasn't about money. We thought that, they were going to be taking this to the end to expose this corruption and bring down the prince and finally, once and for all, root out this, nefarious activity that was like infesting the entire global elite. I mean, we wanted to see some action here, but not the case. What we have now is this settlement, which is going to settle the terms, and we're going to take a look at how much money is being transferred as being reported by some news sites. Virginia Giuffre and Prince Andrew, they've reached an out-of-court settlement, which means that Prince Andrew is just going to be paying this off. The parties will file a stipulated dismissal upon Giuffre's receipt of the money. the sum of which is not being disclosed. Rumored to be $16 million, about $12 million over there in UK. Prince Andrew intends to make a substantial donation to Miss Giuffre's charity in support of victims' rights. Andrew never intended to malign Miss Giuffre's character. Let's back up a minute here. Substantial donation to Miss Giuffre's charity in support of victims' rights. So we sort of don't know how this is being split up, do we? A settlement and a donation? Or is the donation a part of the settlement? Or is the entire settlement a donation? I don't think so, because it says a substantial donation. So we don't really know what that means. Okay. Anyways, the question is how much is going to Virginia? How much is going to this charity for victims? I guess is what I'm saying. If we're splitting the pie, who gets the bigger slice? Prince Andrew has never intended to malign Miss Giuffre's character, just called her a liar for, the last couple decades. And he accepts that she has suffered both as an established victim of abuse. Well, whose abuse? And as a result of unfair public attacks, many of which he initiated through his lawyers and through his team. So a victim of abuse, but not by him, just somebody who is a general victim of abuse. No apology there for Virginia. It says, it is known that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked countless young girls over many years. Okay, so that's nice. Yes, that's true. Prince Andrew regrets his association with Epstein. Okay, and commends the bravery of Giuffre and other survivors in standing up for themselves. He pledges to demonstrate his regret for the association with Epstein and support fighting against the evils of trafficking by supporting its victims. Oh, so that's nice. So he doesn't admit anything, does he? Just, sort of is acknowledging that poor Miss Giuffre is just a victim of circumstance. I don't know how she got to be the victim of this abuse, but she is, and I feel bad for her, and I'm really glad she's speaking up about it, but I had nothing to do with it. Not even going to acknowledge it. So as is typically the case, right? This is just a big fat check from somebody that's got a lot of money that is mostly meaningless to them, going to be sending this over to somebody else who is just going to be dropping all of the claims in exchange for a big fat payday. Well, that's nice. So both parties are going to resolve this thing. Sounds like quite amicably. It's all going to go away. Now, Piers Morgan, who is British, says the British public is entitled to know who paid for Prince Andrew's settlement, given that some of it may have come out of the taxpayers' money. UK citizens paying for this settlement? Outrageous if it's true, he says, that the Queens had to contribute towards the silencing of his accuser. How dare he put his mother in that position? And so Piers Morgan, of course, got a lot of likes on this thing. You can see I kind of took this screenshot as the counter was just spinning up. Now, there's a lot of sort of back and forth now going on between the different parties as they're trying to come to the terms of these settlements. But a big question is, like Piers said, where's the money coming from? And is the royal family going to do anything, to sort of sanction the prince? Recall they already kind of did. Remember that a royal communication came out from the royal family, said, with the Queen's approval and agreement, the Duke of York's military affiliations and royal patronages have been returned to the Queen. The Duke of York will not take any public duties. He's now a private citizen. And remember that after that happened, the Duke of York started wiping out his online account. So the Duke of York, right, can't use that anymore. So the HRH, His Royal Highness, the Duke of York, that Instagram account got nuked. This Twitter account, the Duke of York, got nuked. And so he's not allowed to basically, I think, use that anymore. And so Prince Andrew and all of his social media team just started deleting everything. 250,000 followers, 12,000 tweets, nuked. But who cares? Because he's out of the woods on this thing. No more discovery in the civil case. He's not going to be required to sit for depositions or answer any other questions about this. And we know he's not good at answering questions about this because he starts saying things like, well, I don't sweat and I don't think I've ever even been there. And I'm just didn't work out well for him. And now he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. He also doesn't have to worry about any criminal charges because the UK police aren't doing anything about this. UK police won't take action against Prince Andrew. Remember this article? We talked about this back in October of last year, saying, no, we looked into this, not going to do anything about it. London Metro Police saying that no one is above the law, but says as a matter of procedure, the review has been concluded. We're taking no further action. All right. So that's it. So he's now pretty much in the clear, although the Duke of York is still, I think, part of his city title. But the BBC reported just a day or two ago that Prince Andrew is facing a renewed call to give up the Duke of York title. Now, this is a little bit different according to my understanding of this. He gave up his honorary military roles and his HRH style in January after he got a bad ruling in that case. But then on Tuesday, after he agreed to make this settlement, the York MP, Rachel Maskell, said he should give up his association with the city. The Duke of York says, repeating the call she made last month, said that he should show respect for those affected by abuse and the people of our city and withdraw his ducal title. Or ducal title. Prince Andrew became Duke of York, a title traditionally granted to the monarch's second son on his marriage back in 1986, saying that's got to go because you now settled this. It's sort of a tacit admission of guilt, right? I mean, people are sort of saying, well, look, who pays $16 million if you never met the person and you didn't do anything? Very curious. And so there are, a cascading series of consequences in addition to the money. He's got to now face calls to have that Duke of York title. And I'm sure he really likes that one. We are asking ourselves, who is going to pay for this settlement? Where's the money coming from? We can see here New York Times is sort of giving us some details about where some of Prince Andrew's funds may come from. Wider questions now rise about his finances and his behavior. Andrew, he does get paid about $338,000 a year. That comes from the Queen. He gets a pension of another $28,000, $27,000 because he used to serve as a helicopter pilot in the Royal Navy. He also runs up expenses for security at his main residence, 30-room house, stepped back from official duties. He owns a ski lodge. He paid $22 million for that transaction with a French socialite. So he's got plenty of money, but even though that is the case, sounds like the Queen might be helping to pay $12 million. Now that's a big chunk of change for the Treasury of England to pay for. Duke of York reaches a deal but makes no apology at all. And so the Telegraph has more there, but you can see that there are consequences taking place in even the royal families. It sounds like the royal household. The Sun is reporting that Prince Andrew is being ridiculed by palace aides who mock him with a nursery rhyme after his $12 million settlement. And so you can see Andrew here has allegedly been ridiculed by palace aides. The story goes like this: inspired by a nursery rhyme, aides are said to have jokingly shared lyrics that say, the grand old Duke of York, he had 12 million quid. He gave it to someone he never met for something he never did. The jibe references the infamous Newsnight interview with the BBC's Emily Matlas, where he said he had no recollection of ever meeting Miss Giuffre. Also said no memory of a well-known photograph of his arm around Ghislaine. So it goes, the grand old Duke of York, he had 12 million quid. He gave it to someone he never met for something he never did. I like that. It's pretty clever there over there in the palace, the royal palace. Sources say the heir to the throne met with the Queen last Tuesday, urging them, or several people were urging the younger sibling to see sense. No, pay her off. They said, yo, Andy, you are going to get skewered by David Boies. You can't give an interview to save your life, brother. The cash-strapped Duke of York, 61, still waiting for the sale of that Swiss chalet, with the sale expected to be completed in weeks. So he's fire sailing that place, it sounds like. We've got Charles and the Queen, 95, are going to dip into their personal funds to make sure that their son gets his allowance to pay off his abuse settlement. Andrew will be asked to pay back his bridging loan when he sorts out his tangled finances. Remarkable turnaround comes just 3 weeks after Andrew demanded a jury trial, claiming the case was a marathon, not a sprint. So, when you're about to embarrass the entire royal family and you just sort of have money just sort of tucked under the mattresses, they bring you into their office and they say, listen, young dumb brother, we've got to make sure this whole thing goes away, and so we'll loan you the $16 million. And so you just sell all your stuff and we'll sort of figure it out on the back end. And that's what they're doing. So yet another loose end in the Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein saga goes away. All the powerful people who are really responsible for actually using Epstein and Maxwell services continue to just escape any criminal liability, any civil liability. Ghislaine Maxwell, of course, is the only person in this entire saga who is currently in custody. Everyone else roaming around the meadows over there in the UK. Prince Andrew, escaping yet another one. What do you think about this? Are you as grossed out as the rest of us? I'm sure you are, but let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. I'd love a like before you got out of here, and don't forget to subscribe because we have a live show that we do every weekday, and I'd love to have you there. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.